Hello everyone, today I'll be narrating 3 new creepyposts that I found off of the Let's Not Meet subreddit. Liking this video and subscribing to my channel helps me a lot. After you've heard these stories, let me know what you think of them in the comments below. But without further ado, let's dive straight into their experiences.
These are their stories.
This story takes place late around 1:30 a.m. when I get the call. A very drunk friend of mine, Claire, is begging me to come pick her up and give her a ride home soon. The bar is closing soon and she's too drunk to drive home. The bar she is at isn't too far from my house, about a 10 to 15 minute drive, but the issue is that she lives like 35 to 45 minutes on the other side of town. Claire has been extremely nice to me in the past and I did owe her a solid, so at about 10 to 2, I grab my keys and my concealed carry and leave the house. I get to the bar at around 5 past 2 and she's sitting outside on a bench by the doorman. I pull into the parking lot, which is pretty empty since the bar is closed, and I assume the cars remaining were the workers who had yet to leave. I get out of the car and start walking to Claire, who is kinda slumped over. I was hoping she wasn't passed out drunk, and when I got to her, the doorman asked me if I was her ride. I told her yes, showed my ID for proof, and what he said next was of some concern. He kinda pulls me in and says, "Hey, I was supposed to leave when we closed, but I have a strong feeling your friend was roofied. She's been on the porch drinking all night and some guy kept hovering around her. I assumed it was a boyfriend or whatever, but she never turned to talk to the guy. She was either drinking or chatting with other girls around her. Well, anyways, she chugged her last drink, came up to me and told me you would be coming to pick her up, and she asked me if she could sit by me, and she told me she felt very dizzy and sick. I told her sure, hoping she just drank too much, and she passed out right after she sat down. After that, I couldn't see the guy anymore, but I didn't want to take any chances. So visibly concerned, I thank the guy profusely, and he even helps me carry Claire to my car. Midway to carrying her, she's kind of coming to, like someone just waking up after her surgery. That really groggy, not knowing where they are, talking of nonsense kind of talking. I don't remember exactly what she was talking about, but I'm sure if I wasn't on high alert about her possibly being drugged, it was some funny stuff. So we get her buckled in, I thank the guy again, and he just says he hopes she gets home safe. So now, hoping my friend is only stupid drunk and not drugged, I start driving to her house. The whole time I'm trying to keep an eye on her and an eye on the road. She's now snoring asleep, which puts me at ease a bit, but about halfway to her house, my fuel light comes on. Cursing the fuel economy of a sports car, I pull into the next gas station. It's one of those small gas stations that doesn't have 24-hour store, so I'm on extra high alert while I start to pump gas. The gas station is about a block from the freeway, and right at the corner of the intersection. The street itself is pretty dark, with lonely lampposts shining very pitiful lights at large intervals. I get that really dead feeling like this place is just abandoned. To give an idea of positioning, because this is important, the gas station is at the corner of the intersection. The storefront would be facing south, and we were right in front of it where the pumps were. The east would be where there are air pumps for tires and parking spaces, and the north would be a diesel fuel pump right behind the store, accessible from the street behind the gas station. I drive a Corvette, so the filler is on the rear end of the car, and I'm leaning against the rear looking around. To my left, I hear this weird metallic scraping sound, so I turn and see this guy about 15 to 20 feet from me come around the corner dragging a long metal pipe on the ground. I immediately sense that I'm in a possibly dangerous situation now. The guy looks almost possessed, but he's not looking at me, rather like he's trying to look into my car. I'm on the defensive, but hope I can get him to leave, so I call out, "Hey, everything alright?" Without looking at me, he answers back, "You took my girlfriend from me. I'm here to take her back." Now he turns to look at me and he's got blood in his eyes. Before he begins to take a step though, I start yelling, hoping it'll get him to back off. "Back off, please turn around." He takes a step towards me, clearly unimpressed, so almost automatically, I pull my handgun from my inside the waistband holster and draw a bead on him. "Back off, you don't have to die," I start yelling louder. Anyway, in a panic, the guy throws the pipe at me. It whizzes by and I dive behind my car for cover. I have no idea if he has a gun himself or what, but I was going to put some kind of cover between me and him, and by the time I kneel up and aim over the rear of my car, he's booked it. I hear a car door slam and tires screech, and he launches off the curb on the east side of the lot and is tearing down the road, swaying all over the place. In my own panicked hurry, I pull the pump out of the car, screw the cap on, and tear out of there myself. Claire, however, is still passed out in the car, and now I'm afraid because I'm convinced she'd been drugged and we were followed by that guy. Me being more concerned about her earlier and keeping on the road, I must have not noticed being followed. The whole way back to her house, I'm wary of any car that's behind me. I'm also driving very aggressively, and when I get to Claire's neighborhood, I circle a separate block that's not hers 4 times to make sure no one followed me. When I was satisfied thinking I wasn't being followed anymore, I pulled up to her house and try to shake her awake. She's doing that groggy waking up stuff from before, but now she's able to get up. I'm able to walk her. Thankfully, I was worried I was gonna have to call an ambulance if she didn't wake up, and I get her keys from her bag. I managed to walk her inside, and at this point she's kind of coming around, asking me what's going on, where she is, etc. I tell her she's home and get her to lie down. She's completely lost looking, and her eyes start welling up. She clings to me and starts sobbing. She's still very out of it, but I'm guessing she realizes something bad was going on or attempted on her. I was able to get her to lie down and get her to sleep. I write a note for her which pretty much said, "Hey, I'll be in the next room. We're going to the hospital in the morning to get you checked out." Fast forward to the morning, she's sick as a dog, and after she expelled some demons from her stomach, I drove her to the hospital where she got tested and treated. I still shudder to think what might have happened had I not had my CCW with me. Claire still doesn't remember much from the night except calling me and wanting to sit next to the doorman. They did a urine test at the hospital and found traces of rohypnol, roofies. In the days after we went to the bar and let them know what happened, I gave as good description I could of the guy. Claire decided against filing a police report and I respectfully went with her wishes. My advice is either be with friends you trust when you go out or at least be vigilant if you're by yourself. That night could have ended badly in 1,000 different ways, but thankfully everyone made it out safe. I don't really know where to begin, but I suppose it started before I was born. My birth set in motion a series of actions that led to the threat on my life beyond my control. So pre my existence, my mother, Jane, dated an older guy named James when she was in her mid-teens. He adored her but wasn't of the same religion as her, so she ended up marrying a gentleman from her congregation instead, leaving James' brother put out. A year after being married, Jane gave birth to me and decided that she was unhappy with my father, Dave, and contacted James with the intent to go back to him. So Jane packed a bag one night, took me and left. As soon as she arrived at James, she was bombarded with messages from Dave telling her that he would take full custody of me if she didn't return. So with a heavy heart, she chose me over James, and therein lies my problem. She went back to my father, and after another year of failed attempts, they divorced and my mother moved south to be with family, completely forgetting about James. My childhood was fairly normal for the next 13 years. A few house moves, a new stepdad, and a few siblings. Mother's second marriage falls through and she's single again. The year is 2010 and she has just discovered Facebook. Being newly single and having sudden contact with all of her old school friends, she quickly strikes up a few romances out of nostalgia. Nothing sticks though until she finds him. James has a Facebook account, not very active, no profile picture, but my mom is sure it is him and immediately falls in love again. He comes down south and meets his kids and stays for my 16th birthday party. Looks wise, he is easily in his 50s with shaved gray hair and glasses. My mom leaves him a third time and he finally flips and the crazy comes out to play. He starts turning up at the house uninvited. He is told to leave every time. The visits become less frequent and we think maybe he's got the message. But then hand-delivered letters start arriving for my mom, and it's the contents of these letters that cause me alarm. In them he details how if she had never met my father, they could have been happy together, and he had a plan to get her back that was ruined by the untimely arrival of me. So he did what any crazy man would do and started plotting to get me out of the picture. Back in 1995, she had a near miss of a car accident, with baby me in the car when a car clipped her at a junction. She didn't get the car's details but put it down to chance. In the letters, James tells her that the incident 15 years ago was him and that he won't miss this time. He informs her that he still believes that there is a chance for them, but only with me out the picture. I'm not a baby anymore, my father's well and truly out of the picture, but the crazy in James' brain won't let it go. The next letter tells her that he will burn the house down. If he can't have her, no one else will. The next letter informs my mother that he has told social services that she is a drunk and that they will come and take me away. Not hard to prove that false, so we don't panic. The next letter tells her that he will burn the house down. If he can't have her, no one else will. This one she takes to the police. Upon investigation, it is revealed that an ex of James, with the same first name as my mother, has a restraining order against him for stalking and attempted arson. We are put on high alert and the process for a restraining order is begun. A few nights later, my mom hears someone outside the house. Thinking it's him, she calls the police. They arrive within 5 minutes and search the street. No James, but his car is found behind the resident garages. He doesn't return to it that night. The next day, the police contact a woman's hostel in a neighboring county. They have a room spare, so we pack our bags and head there. And so the summer of my life was spent in hiding, no friends, no social media. Well, I wasn't supposed to have social media, but using proxy servers on the computer in the teens rec room, I was the only teen in the hostel at this point, was easy, and possibly very stupid. James began messaging me through Facebook, playing nice, telling me how much he loved my mom, and needed to know that she was okay. I ignored him and unblocked his account. I had a number of fake accounts try to befriend me and they were all blocked also. After 3 months they find us a new house. We have a week to go back and pack up our old lives. So that's what we do, and now it's 8 years later and I've moved several times since, including for university, and honestly haven't given much thought to the man who wanted to kill me so he could be with my mother. 2 years ago I moved back up north not far from my birthplace. 2 weeks ago I received an email on an old email account for a rental agreement. At first I thought it was spam, but upon opening it, the name at the top read to James Smith and the rental address was not too far from me, only a town away. That sick guy gave my email to the renters as his so that I would know he was nearby. I've heard nothing else, but I seriously hope that we don't ever meet again. This just happened to me a few nights ago and I am still shaken up, so bear with me. I am a female bartender at a small cafe that doubles as a venue. During the day we serve coffee and lunch, and at night we have a full bar with bands, comedy shows, etc. On this night, there was an open mic comedy show. Not a lot of comedians showed up, so we ended up closing up shop early and I was ready to go home. I had a patron come in and order a single beer during the comedy show. He was acting nervous. I get customers that are shy or don't want to talk to people, so I didn't think much about it. He sat down, sipped his beer, and watched the show. Since we closed early, everyone was pretty much gone and I wanted to lock up and clean so I could get home. After I escorted the last couple out of the bar and got ready to lock the door, I see the man from earlier walk down the back hallway and into the men's restroom. Not even a minute later, he burst through the door yelling, "Hurry, come back here, I need help." I stood at the opposite end of the hallway and asked him what was wrong. "The toilet is overflowing, there's water all over the floor, help me clean this up." I could tell that something was wrong and I replied, "It's okay man, it happens, I'll mop it up, I'm just trying to close it up right now." He continued to argue with me, trying to get me to come into the bathroom with him as I stood about 20 feet away down the hallway. Finally, he walks towards me very aggressively and tries to grab my arm. "You need to come back here now," he says. I immediately put my hands out in front of me so he cannot come any closer and I tell him he has to leave. He walks outside and I lock the door behind him. I check the bathroom and it is completely spotless, no water on the floor at all. I flush the toilet and the urinal and they are both working fine. I start to get nervous and I take my large pocket knife and clip it to my waistband of my pants just in case. As I'm cleaning our espresso machine and putting toppers in the liquor bottles, I hear a tapping noise. I look up at the front of the store, which is one big window that has a few curtains covering it. The same man is tapping on the window, waving at me and laughing like a maniac. I watch him walk over to the door and pull on it. It doesn't open since I had locked it after he left. He starts screaming and pounding on the glass, saying, "Open the door, I'm gonna kill you." Fight overcame flight at this point and I walked around the counter and about 6 feet from the door. I pulled out my knife and locked eyes with him and yelled, "I'm calling the cops, get out of here." He smiled and walked out of the view of the window. At this point, all of my adrenaline had crashed. I locked myself in the office and called 911 crying, explaining that I'm alone and a man tried to lure me into the bathroom and was outside trying to get into my bar. I waited an hour and a half, no police showed up. I called my boyfriend and he drove up to the shop. My manager watched the security cameras from home, making sure that the man didn't come back. I did the deposit and immediately drove home, my boyfriend following close behind me. My male busboy has been coming into work with me so I'm not alone, and the managers have been keeping an eye on the security cameras while I'm working. Alright, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Let me know what you thought of these stories in the comments below. But as always,
Have a nice day.